Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
I really don't want to spend so much time on polls. I've shown you a few polls recently. Polls are useful in a political horse race. We love to hate pollsters, but they generally get it right. That's why it's depressing to see Aaron O'Toole, the new Conservative leader, fall back. He had no honeymoon after his leadership win, and I have my theories why. I've already told you them. But I want to show you a poll today that does talk about politicians, but it's really more about the pandemic. And I find the poll depressing. I apologize in advance. The poll was actually published 3 weeks ago, but I only read through it now. I'm certain that it's still accurate. Not much has changed in the last 3 weeks. Actually, one thing, and I'll get to that. But here's what it is. It's from Leger, generally regarded as accurate. Here's the poll. It's the big North American tracking poll. There's a lot of stuff in there about the US that I'm not going to get into because it's not relevant to my points today. But let's look at something very nonpartisan, okay? Let's not look at elections or parties or leaders. Let's look at this, mental health during the crisis. And people can rate themselves from excellent to very good to bad to very bad. And the news is terrible. The bottom three categories, oh, I'm good, I'm bad, I'm terrible. That's 69% of people. And look at the breakdowns. It's done by province, which is something that I think is interesting, but it's the age groups that I find the most interesting. Look at young people, 18 to 34. You can see some numbers are in red, most are in black and some are in green. Black is sort of a normal number, red is the lowest number in any category, and green is the highest. So just to explain what those colors mean. So you can see that only 20% of young people say they're in excellent mental health, only 20%. Just 7% say they're very good. Those numbers are in the red because those numbers are the smallest of any age group. Now look at the other side. 39% say they're good, 30% say they're bad, 30%, and 8% say very bad. So 77% say they're in the bottom three levels. Now compare that to senior citizens, 55 plus, who seem to be doing great, which I wouldn't quite have expected. Only 2% say they're very bad, only 11% say they're bad. 38% say they're just peachy, excellent, or very good. What do you make of that? Well, I think that if you're in your 80s and 90s and in a senior's home, and maybe you have dementia or other serious illnesses, you're probably not answering pollsters' questions. But if you're 55 or 60, you might be retired anyway, so you're not worried about losing your job. You have no kids still in school, so you're not worried about kids not being in school. Your home is probably paid off, so you're not worried about making mortgage or rent payments. You're probably not starting up a business in your 50s or 60s. So really, the lockdown, no worries. But if you're 18 or 20 or 25, your school or your college is canceled, your job is probably canceled, retail, restaurants, whatever you're doing. You're more likely than someone in their 80s to be going to the gym. Well, not now, you're not. You might be single. Well, try dating in the era of lockdowns. Where would you go? You can't visit friends. You can't make friends. You're scolded and demonized. You can't even go to the park. That's terrible. Now, 21,000 people have died from COVID in the past year out of 37 million citizens. Average age of death, 82. Average number of comorbidities, 3. But millions of young people are depressed, and it's getting worse because of the lockdowns. Here's the chart of it getting worse. Now, this isn't broken down by age, so it's all people in Canada who say they're doing excellent or very good. I'd like to see a version of this just for young people. Near the beginning of the pandemic, it was in the mid-40s. People say, yeah, I'm okay, I'm good, fine, good. But now it's just at a record low, 29% of anyone in any age. And it's getting worse, as you can see. This virus is not getting worse. The lockdown is getting worse. Look at page 27. This is one US-Canada comparison I'd like to make. A total of 29% of Canadians say they're excellent or very good, and it's falling. We just showed you that. But 45% of Americans say so. Why is there such a difference? That's a pretty significant difference. Why are the number of Canadians saying they're doing bad, as you can see, almost double the number of Americans say they're doing bad mentally? Is it because in the US there are 50 different states taking 50 different approaches, and most of the states are open. In fact, only one state in the Union, California, is still harshly locked down. Most actually, are very open, if they were even closed to begin with. Some states never did lock down, like South Dakota. Schools are open in almost every state. Travel is not weirdly blocked. People aren't told to stay home and be miserable, at least not in every part of America. Is that why they're not depressed? I don't know. I personally don't value a vaccine, but in the US, they're miles ahead of us in terms of giving it to the people who do want it. I don't want it, but those in Canada who do want it can't get it. Is that part of the reason for stress and depression? Just total incompetence by Justin Trudeau? You didn't have 50 states working on it. You had one idiot who's just, has never done anything in his life. Look at page 29. It measures fear of the virus, not fear of the lockdown, of the bug. Ontario's people are terrified. The number is in green because it's the highest, but it feels like that should be in red or something because it's the number of people frightened. Alberta is the lowest afraid, 51%. The number who say they're not afraid at all, it's highest in Alberta, 16%. Just half that, 8% in Ontario. So Ontario is scared, and fair enough. They're made to be scared by every politician, every government agency, every journalist, every public health pundit, the media. Young people, they're the least afraid of any age, which makes sense. It's a disease whose average victim is 82 years old. Page 30 of the poll shows those numbers really haven't moved at all. So it's not really the news, I don't think. People were scared briefly in last spring, as you can see, but now it's not any changing facts. I think it's just our personal nature and character. We have been conditioned to be afraid, or we resist being afraid. I think we're becoming two different countries, right? And as a whole, I think we are a nation that's afraid. That's an excerpt from my daily show, the Ezra Levant Show. Every day I do a monologue on the news of the day, then I interview an interesting guest, and then I read my hate mail. You gotta subscribe. Go to rebelnews.com.